everyone, welcome to the 5-Beer Plan. I'm Brian, and this is the ongoing saga of an everyman's ale trail. In this episode, I wrap up the latest homebrew project, get some insight into filling options from my expert at Buckeye Brewcraft, settle up with Andy and Amanda from Three Trees Brewing, and review the homebrew. But before we get this party started, here is this episode's burning question. What is your favorite cream ale? I checked Untappd, and my favorite is one from 1820 Brewworks in Kalida, Ohio called Push Pop Racer. I had this one at last year's Northwest Ohio Brewbarbecue. Push Pop Racer has orange and vanilla on the nose. A light grainy flavor on the palate leads to a dryness on the finish. Super refreshing for those hot summer days, and reflecting on the music of the ice cream truck traveling through the neighborhood. In this segment of Homebrew Hijinks, it's time to finish up and package the Creek Valley Cream Ale. Since this beer was in a secondary fermenter, bottling day was going to be a breeze. As usual, sanitizing bottles, caps, and filling equipment took precedent. For this beer, I wanted a medium carbonation, so I would add 3 carb tabs per bottle. Additionally, while I was waiting for the bottles to dry, I wondered what the beer would taste like if it was conditioned on cacao nibs. So at the last minute, I soaked a few nibs in some of my shikasa, and in a couple of bottles I would add a 1/4 teaspoon to see whether I might be able to eke out a strawberry chocolate profile. In the end, I managed 9 bottles of finished product, 2 of those with the cacao nibs. I even had a little bit left over to try, and I was pretty happy with the strawberry essence that had developed in a few days. I disposed of the muslin bag with the strawberries and began cleanup, excited for what looks like another successful brew. At the end of the episode, I will review the homebrew. Homebrewing can be overwhelming, especially if you are just starting out. Every month, I set aside a few minutes to talk to my go-to expert, David Young, owner of Buckeye Brewcraft in Columbus, Ohio, and ask him some common questions that homebrewers have.
Now, I think you also asked the question of what's out there from a filling standpoint. This is actually a great question, and much like our previous conversation on brew systems, but way less complicated, you have a couple of ways to do it. You can use your hose directly from a bottling bucket with a little spigot on it to let it fill into your bottle and crimp it off like you would do a hose pipe. I'm from the South, a garden hose with water, and move it on to the next bottle and so on. Same with a keg, I suppose. The next step up from there is using one of the plastic bottle wands that has the spring-loaded little lever on the bottom of it to fill your bottles or whatever from the bottom to the top. Yeah, those are great. I still use them all the time. There is also what is known as a counter pressure filler. That is a very cool professional-based piece of equipment that is available on the homebrew side now for a pretty cost-effective amount of money. However, you also have to have a CO2 source with it. So if you are filling bottles with a counter pressure filler, which essentially what a counter pressure filler does is create a blanket of CO2 in the bottle as you're filling it up with the beer so that you have a oxygenless transfer into the bottle. They're great. That's mostly how I fill my bottles and growlers when I'm doing it from a draft system, just because it adds a little extra layer of safety with the oxygenation. So those are out there too. Most commonly with that is the Blickman beer gun. That's also probably the most expensive example. There are less expensive examples out there as well. But again, with that, you have to have a CO2 bottle and a regulator and line. So meh. There are tools out there that are, I got to say, this is one thing that I doubted. I spent a little bit of money on as a glutton for punishment, and it's been amazing. Blickman has a product called the Quick Carb that I'm not even sure they fully support anymore. It's a little bit of an older thing. But essentially what you do is create a closed loop within a keg with a carb stone and a CO2 bottle and a regulator that constantly flows beer out of the keg, through the carb stone, through the system, back into the keg, and just creates a loop. And you can fully carb a cold keg of beer in 45 minutes. And It's killer. Yeah. But you got to have the stuff and the room and the pump and yada, yada, yada. And that thing itself was a stupid amount of money, but it is what it is sometimes. Forgive me, John Blickman and the Blickman Corporation, for saying that it was a stupid amount of money. Yeah. So again, it can be as simple or as complex as you want. If bottling is what works for you because you have the storage for it and you share your beer, just stick with bottling. I used the example previously, my buddy Mike Noonan that brews the 3-gallon batches with a bucket heater. That dude only bottles. He only bottles because it's what works for him. It's efficient, it's controllable, and he makes competition winning beer. The guy, it's killer. So just do what you're comfortable with and what you can do. Again, don't think about that next brass ring that's out there.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion for the home brewer because it is a dangerous thing to start chasing equipment, chasing technology. Quickly, you can run out of room, run out of money. So I like the whole idea of brewing where you're comfortable and working within that space.
Yeah, I just can't speak to it enough. So my 3 interests in life are music and being a musician, cars and hot rods, and beer. I'm the epitome of a middle-aged dude, apparently. But that same mentality rings true with all those things. Guitarists are always looking for the next thing to make their tone better, make them play better, make them sound louder, make them whatever. It's called gear acquisition syndrome. They call it gas. It's the same thing. In the car world, like it's never this is enough. It's always, well, and I am so victim of this with the car stuff. I have a Mustang that I've worked on forever. And I've built it, and now I'm thinking, well, I'm done. Like the motor's built, and we're running. I've got it. I've got the hot rod running like I wanted to. Let's talk fuel injection. So let's jump down that rabbit hole. And now we're talking about electronics and everything. I don't need it. It's not part of what I need there. It's exciting and it's shiny and it's cool. And at some point, maybe it makes sense, but optimize what you have and what you're doing before you get the next shiny thing to create more of a problem.
If you have a question that you'd like answered, reach out to me at 5beerplan@frontier.com and put Ask the Expert in the subject line. Also, if you are ever in need of homebrew supplies with great customer service, expert answers, and high-quality supplies, please check out Buckeye Brewcraft. You can find them on the web at buckeyebrewcraft.com and tell them that you heard about them on the podcast. Now, it's time for Barstool Banter. In this episode, I take one last turn around the block in Arcadia, Florida with Amanda and Andy from Three Trees Brewing. Our chat turned to the tap room and small town logistics, the concept of mission drift, how to avoid it, and favorite beer styles. If you find yourself in the heart of Central Florida, drop into this historic town, cozy up to the counter, and order up one of their handcrafted masterpieces. You won't be disappointed.
There's more people out there than we think, I think, when that enjoy the microbrewing or the craft beer industry or what's happening in that area.
Yeah,
Even though it's
sure.
maturing some, I think it's more consolidating. I think I've heard of several microbreweries creating, little satellite locations. And to me, that was where the misstep was with a lot of these people come to our microbrew, our nano brew, because we have a story to tell. And the story to tell is about our hometown and the background of our hometown and why the beers are named the way they're named. You can't replicate that in another location.
That's very, very true. And that's a perspective, Andy, that I've not heard as of yet. So how many beers do you have on tap there at Three Trees?
So we have a total of 16 taps. On any given time, we have 10 to 11 taps, which is our own brewed beers on location. The other 5 taps typically be 2 ciders because everybody doesn't like to drink beer. So it gives their friend or their spouse to comes in and have something different. We have other alternatives that are canned like wines or bottled wine stuff for them. So the other one who likes beer can enjoy theirs as well. And the others are other guest taps from local breweries. We don't want to do any mass produced beer. It's going to be other microbreweries next to us, whether it's Motorworks out of Brayton, Swan Brewing in Lakeland, anybody we can get that's local we want to use. You're never going to see the Coors, the Bud Light, none of that's going to be in there. The Michelob, you're never going to see those on tap. It's strictly going to be all local breweries, nothing mass produced.
I like that. Do you have a core rotation or are you constantly changing? I know you're only 6 months into the business here.
I think we're learning our core rotation. Surprisingly, the lager has not been as popular as we thought it would be, as we were told. It's actually been our blonde ale, wheat ale, stouts, and IPAs really. We kind of predominantly stick to East Coast IPAs, so you have more of the hoppiness, not the bitterness. That seems to be a little more popular than the West Coast type IPAs. So I think our standard rotation is going to be two light beers like the blonde ale and the wheat ale, and then definitely a stout and an IPA. So at least those minimum four types will be on the tap. What we do vary, we do change the flavors up a little bit. Like we had a strawberry blonde, we've had guava blonde, which was
Mm.
very popular. We have a cherry stout that's on right now. We had a
Tiramisu stout.
yeah, most popular stout that's we're already out of. We're going to remake it here soon. Is a tiramisu stout. Everybody loved that, and it had a nice brown head on it. Whenever you poured out of the tap, that was probably the best looking beer we have when it was being poured out into a glass.
And that was one that I had when I was there in February. Well done, well executed. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So you've already mentioned that you're classified as a nano brewery.
Mhm.
So can you tell me a little bit about how Florida HB 499 affects you?
I think it'll be profound because, as we talked about before, a lot of times, if you're not consuming on premises, you're going nowhere else. Some people just want to stop by, grab something, and leave. That House bill that's currently on the table, that'll definitely help to allow people to enjoy your beers outside your four walls, be able to just walk down the sidewalk and enjoy the different stores of a historic area. So, being historic in nature, there's a lot of stores that complement each other. Well, can't take it out with you and while your wife goes and shops, it makes it more difficult. So this definitely, I think, will be a win-win for micro nano brewing, especially for small towns, because it brings people here and then they know they can go and come back if they wanted to, and not held into our brewery while everybody else is walking around enjoying the historic area.
Yeah, one of the largest small towns near us have it's called the Dora. I don't remember what the Dora stands for off the top of my head, but it's the same kind of thing that basically you can get a plastic cup of beer and you can walk around in the Dora corridor, so to speak, without getting into any kind of trouble. I hope it works out for you.
Yeah, I hope so. It'll be good. And then, like we talked earlier, your patrons are definitely a different type of person than the ones that would go to a bar as soon as it opened and be there till midnight. It's definitely family oriented, so you want to keep that family feel, walking down the street with a nice plastic cup of cold brew.
Yeah, especially on a hot day in Florida. I think I saw that it was
Exactly.
93 yesterday or the day before. So
Yeah, we got our first. Actually, we went through a we always go through a dry spell in the spring. So last night was our first good rain of the season. So now it's gonna be nice and hot and humid also.
other things that I think are important for the nano brewery, the microbrewery, whatever, are to have events that bring people in. I know you do your bingo, which is pretty cool that gives back to the community. What other
Mhm.
kinds of things do you do to draw people in and or engage with the community in that sense?
I'll let Amanda speak on that.
I think that's a fabulous question. One of the things that we had started out with way back October 15th, we had 2 weeks really to say, okay, what do we want to do starting November 1st that will continue through season? And season being when the snowbirds or other adventure seekers come down to Florida for the beautiful weather, right?
Right.
And so one of the things that our community is super passionate about is just supporting nonprofits, because a lot of the nonprofits here in DeSoto County help us, whether it's getting food from all faiths, getting prom dresses from Laura's Good Vibe Tribe, getting your house fixed by Hope DeSoto or Habitat. There's so many different nonprofits where grant funding outside of our community comes in to say, let's build up Arcadia, DeSoto County. So something that we could do initially, knowing that in season, there's also a lot of fundraisers, so that people and businesses are constantly asked, can you support us? So we decided early on what we will do to support the community is let a nonprofit host Tuesday bingo at the brewery for that whole month. And so people can come in and support that nonprofit specifically, whether they're from out of town, they have no idea, but they're coming in to play bingo. And then a lot of people will come in specifically for that nonprofit. And what happens is from 6:30 to 8 p.m., 6 to 8 games are played, different prizes are given out. And at that last Tuesday of the month, the donations that come in, it's a 50-50. It can go to the bingo drawing that we put in, and then the other 50 goes to the nonprofit. And what has happened at least half of the time is the money gets donated back to the nonprofit. So we have helped to raise over $3,000 for local nonprofits in DeSoto County. If we were sponsoring events, we wouldn't have probably done that much. So I think that it's a better avenue of approach for us rather than trying to get the baseball team here or the soccer team or the club over here. I think we're doing a better job doing the bingo at the brewery. But as far as other events, an event I'm very much looking forward to is this Friday, we're doing an improv class, which we haven't done before. So we've partnered with Florida Studio Theater out of Sarasota, and they're going to have 2 instructors come in, and whoever shows up and pays the money, they can be a part of this improv class. They can gain confidence, learn how to make people laugh, and then laugh themselves, all while enjoying a cold brew. And so just really looking forward to that. Other than that, we usually have, live music on Fridays, open mic on Saturdays. We're going to start doing Bible trivia Thursdays in June. And so that's going to be exciting for those that want to participate.
Yeah.
But we're expanding. When people ask, will you do this, that, or the other? It says, I'm thinking, okay, how can we make that work? How many people have asked about it? Who will support it? Go to that advisory team that we have and say, hey, does this sound good? How do we make this function correctly? How do we want to advertise it? Color scheme, all of that, all that gets considered. And then we either move forward with it or we kind of put it in the schedule. How can we do this next year, next season?
We're not putting ourselves in a box. We want to all constantly change. What works. We'll continue to do it. What doesn't, obviously replace it with something else and see how it works. And because I know each community has its own interest. So as we find out what works, we'll stick to that. And then the community is benefited as well as the brewery benefits. And obviously microbreweries, nanobreweries, they will not survive without their local community supporting them.
Exactly. And I like the fact also, Amanda, that you're going the entire month with your bingo for that particular nonprofit, because that at least gives them more flexibility as well. You have a patio area. So what is your combined taproom and patio space? How many people can you hold?
So currently we're licensed from the fire department for, I think, 41 inside and 100 outside.
Okay.
And that could be fluid, based on the amount of furniture you have inside or outside. But if we had 140 people all at one time, I think we'd have a difficult time with our type of brewery to be able to serve that many people consistently. And with the type
for the challenge.
Oh yeah, definitely up for the challenge. But we want to make sure that when we serve people, we serve them and not feel like they're waiting too long or feel like they're not being taken care of.
Right. When I was there, I think you've got an L-shaped counter.
Yeah.
And at the end of the counter, at the other side, there was where you serve the beer. And I could see that if you had too many people, it'd be really hard for people to cycle in and be able to come up to the counter and order. Have you thought about how you might address that if need be?
I'd like to have that problem, in a short period of time. We feel our second year obviously will be exponentially better than the first year, just getting our name out and learning the seasons through our first year to see what's good in the summer, what's good in the winter. Our ultimate goal is we only have half the inside part of the building. The other half currently is another businesses in there. But it has, I don't know if you remember, there was pocket doors that are currently sealed shut on that wall. They're inside pocket doors.
Yeah.
Our long-term goal is to hopefully that we can move and kind of expand over into that side. We've had another person that's interested in doing a wine bar or, a little small winery. So definitely is complementary. So we could share, space for furniture for our patrons, but have 2 areas for you brew beer in this one area. I don't know what you call ferment wine or whatever in another, ferment the grapes in another area, but have a dual purpose and share a common area, but have the room to be able to serve more people.
And I don't remember, I think I walked to the back. Is your brewing equipment then at the back of your tap room?
It is. So there's basically a brick wall that separates our manufacturing. In the state of Florida, you have a manufacturing area. We actually have to transfer that to our consumption side of things. So that's why they're kind of physically separate. So the back section, which is kind of tight, we said, boy, if we could expand over next door, we'd have a lot more elbow room. We definitely are hope from that in the future. We definitely can brew. It's just, we're kind of moving things around as we do things.
Just a question that comes to mind. If you needed to have the extra space to brew, could you brew off site and bring it in? Does the state of Florida allow that? Or do you have to have additional licensing and permits for that?
That's a good question. I haven't looked that far into it. I think that if you have a different location, you might just have to add that to your existing C&B license that we have. Same entity, just 2 locations to brew and probably off-site. In the state of Florida, you have to go through a distributor if you want to distribute to other locations. We never want to get into that because, again, we want to be a nice community micro nano brewery. If anything, it's going to be just brewing for our own consumption on premises.
So I know you don't have any canning per se at the moment. Are you just doing growler fills?
So the growlers are not customized. So people, when they come in, they do ask for a growler. They're like, "Oh no, it's not customized." And I say, "Yeah, it'll come one day at a time." It's just a naked basic growler, but they can fill it for $15. And so that's the real benefit, because if you wanted to enjoy it at home or go to the beach with it or wherever, you have to consume it within 3 to 4 days for the best quality. But yeah, the canning side of it, the equipment for that takes up a little bit too much space that we're willing to give. And so we probably won't be doing that for the time being.
That makes total sense. It really does. I don't believe you have any food at the brewery. Is there any plan to do that, or you just plan to leverage the restaurants and other places around Arcadia for that?
That's certainly a total different level and license that probably be difficult to even get into just because of what you would need in regards
Yeah.
to. We do have typical snacks like peanuts, type of snacks you'd have with the
Chips, candy,
chips.
yeah.
You would have with the. We do have a food truck on Friday and Saturdays to serve that purpose. Through the process, we have learned that definitely a food truck is definitely a benefit. It's a mutual benefit. We don't charge them; they don't charge us. We mutually benefit from each other. People enjoy the convenience of just ordering their beer, walking outside to the patio, go to the food truck, order, and then relax on the patio, and then have their lunch or dinner right there while they enjoy a fresh beer. I will say that we were hoping there was supposed to be a pizza place that was thinking about opening right next to us or just on the same block, and that didn't make it very far. So we've often talked about, you can bring food in, you can order and have it delivered when we don't have food trucks. So I don't think we'll ever venture into the food part of things just because it's a whole different ball game, equipment and everything. And it kind of, as I often call it, called mission drift. Our mission is to brew great beers, for a small community. And if we get into food, it kind of takes away from that.
And I would add that our city ordinances do not allow us to have food trucks on our premises more than 3 days, no more than 2 consecutive days, and no more
Mm.
than 3 days a week. So for our bingo nights, we've been having a taco truck for Taco Tuesday and bingo, and then Fridays and Saturdays. So I think we're hitting the right days for people to come. But other than that, on Wednesdays and Thursdays, we very much encourage folks to use the eateries that are local, right in historic downtown, like Yee Yee's Wine and Cigar Bar, Arcadia Seafood and Grill, like get their food, come back to us kind of thing. So yeah, we want to support other local eateries through that endeavor.
Great answers. And that's interesting that the ordinances don't allow for a food truck to be there more than 2 days in a row. I've never heard that before.
Small town learning its way as it matures and grows up.
Amanda, what is your favorite style of beer?
Having lived in Germany for a time, I have learned to like them all just about, except sours. I will say a sour is not my favorite. So I know my least favorite.
Okay.
And then as far as like my favorite kind of beer, it depends on my mood, to be honest. It's not just because I'm a female. Is it hot outside? I want a really nice blonde. Cool inside because it's Florida and you got the air cranked down to 68. Give me a pumpkin porter. It kind of just depends on where I'm at, what I'm doing, what do I plan to do later.
How about you, Andy?
A stout all the way.
All right. No hesitation there.
Yeah, stouts. I used to be really big into IPAs, but as I've started brewing and we've kind of ventured more, I've really got the passion that I'll stick with a stout all day long.
Now, are you just a traditional straight ahead stout, or do you like stouts that have adjuncts? Do you like the barrel aged stouts, or you just like stouts in general?
Stouts in general, my favorite, which we brewed it, I don't know if it was just for me or not, but I like a cherry stout. It's not over the top, it has a hint of cherry, but it's still stout. I will say, but by far all the stouts we brewed so far, my favorite has been the tiramisu.
As I said, that was a very good one, very complex. It's a lot of layers to it, no pun intended. As we get ready to wrap up here, I have one last fun question that I ask everybody that I interview. Amanda, I'm going to ask you first. If you were a beer, what style would you be and why?
I think I would like to be a very drinkable wheat ale, like our wagon wheat, and then put an orange slice on me. That's what I think I'd like.
Okay. Andy, how about you?
Well, it's going to be a dumb answer, but I'm a stout. I'm not a small guy. And I don't have much empathy for people. Just a skill set I was not given as empathy I don't have. So, hey, rub dirt on it. Get another stout.
I like that as well. Well, hey, I really appreciate you both being on the show. It's been fantastic getting to know you and hearing more about Three Trees. I wish you the best of luck as you finish out the year and get into your 1 year anniversary.
Brian, we appreciate it, and we'll be anxious to see you again here in the spring.
Sounds great. Thank you again both so much.
Thank you. You take care.
Yep, you as well. Thanks.
Last call.
It's nearly time to wrap things up, but first, one more for the road. This episode, I'm drinking Creek Valley Cream Ale from FBP Homebrew Project. From the brewer. Conditioned on fresh strawberries from Creek Valley Farms, this complex cream ale is perfect for summer evening sipping. Without further delay, well, that was a little unexpected and slightly disappointing. When I popped the top on this beer, since I conditioned it on fresh strawberry, there was likely probably a little bit of yeast still left in the beer. And immediately when I opened this, it just foamed over and I lost roughly about a half a bottle of beer. The good thing is, I'm smelling the strawberry which I was hoping for in the first place. But anyway, this is a 5.3% ABV cream ale. It has a bitterness of 19 IBU, which is near the upper range for a cream ale. I could have adjusted the hop schedule to minimize this, but I wanted this beer to have some chops. So I poured this into a pint glass that comes from Unruly Brewing, which is a kick-ass brewery up in Muskegon, Michigan. The beer pours a cloudy, kind of an apple cider kind of color. It has a nice, thick, foamy white head on it. As mentioned, it has a fantastic aroma. As soon as I popped the top on this, that strawberry aroma just oozed right out. Fantastic. Exactly what I was hoping for. I also get essence of the slight graininess that would come from the flaked corn that's in the mash. First sip impression, that's really good. The strawberry is the centerpiece of this beer, and that's exactly what I was hoping for. It's got a mild strawberry kind of tartness in there. Has a light to maybe medium-bodied mouthfeel. It does have a bitterness on the end that is present. Character. It's got lots of character, and that's exactly what I was hoping for. So this is not your mother's cream ale. This is certainly something that is going to be super refreshing on a hot day like today, where it's going to be 100 degrees. It's got a really nice fruit vibe on it. I really like that strawberry profile. Looking back on this, if I were going to brew this beer again, I would reduce the amount of time that the cream ale is conditioned on the strawberry. Frankly, when I was in the middle of doing all this, I ran out of time to pull it off the secondary when I wanted to. I would also not include any dark malt in the grist bill. I think that gives it just a little too much darkness to it. Again, it comes across looking, maybe as I'm examining it a little bit more, it looks a little bit more like a Hefeweizen. And maybe cold crashing it would help, or even adding some Irish moss to kind of take out some of the suspension that is clouding this up. I'd like it to be maybe a little bit more clear. But I'd say, first time doing a cream ale, first time using an adjunct in secondary, I'm super pleased with this. So I'm going to give this one 4 tasters out of the 5 on the flight board. Cheers, FBP Homebrew Project, and keep on stretching the limits. I'm always looking for new craft beverages to review, so if you've got one from your favorite local craft brewery, meadery, or cidery you'd like me to drink and describe, reach out and let me know. That's all for this episode of the 5 Beer Plan. With so many podcasts out there, thanks for choosing to listen to mine. Join me next time as I talk about yeast profiles, reveal what will be the next homebrew, take one more trip to Florida to grab a bite and review another beer. Remember to hit the subscribe button on your preferred podcast platform to be notified of new episodes. Follow me on Instagram as well, 5 Beer Plan 2022, to see what is happening on my personal ale trail. I'd love to hear from you, and there are several ways you may do so. Leave a comment for this episode on Spotify, direct message me on Instagram, or email me directly, 5beerplan@frontier.com. Be sure to support your local breweries, choose your beers wisely, and drink them responsibly. Until next time, keep walking your ale trail, and stay thirsty, my friends.